got Mark here at Wild Arrow. We're going to be building my first dedicated target rig. Mark talked me into the Concept X 37. He says it's the best thing on the market. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the best bow.
So we're going to get this built out for you guys. You're going to kind of go through the journey with me as I learn target archery, something they've been trying to convince me to get into for a while. And I'm really excited about this. It looks really good. That definitely helps. But I'm excited to start punching some paper with it. So we're going to get this ball rolling. You guys are going to join us as we go through bolting together everything and basically getting it sighted in the way that we need to. So, yeah, where are we starting at today, Mark? What are we going to start with?
All right, editing RedBeard here. I don't, whatever you want to call me, but either way, you just saw me start the build. But before we get into the build, I want to remind you of two giveaways that we have going right now, guys. One, no purchase necessary to get entered, the 65mm spotter from Leupold. Simply subscribe to the channel. Use the link down below to get entered. No purchase necessary. I'm just giving it away at 6,000 subscribers because we're looking to grow this year, and that's the first milestone I'm looking to hit with your support. Next, we have the BlackOvis. We're giving away 6 gift cards at the end of March. To get entered in on that, go over to BlackOvis, use code RedBeard, save yourself some money, get the gear that you need to get now so you can break it in before hunting season. Be confident with it and save some money and win a gift card. There's 6 of them being handed out, so your chances are good. Go and check out using code RedBeard at BlackOvis. Now let's get into this bow build of the Concept X 37 from Hoyt and Wild Arrow.
Well, we're just going to fix every little thing
That I did wrong.
You semi-slap together. It's all little details.
Yeah, so I just took some pictures at home and then kind of bolted everything onto the bow here. But we're running a Hamskea Epsilon rest, which I really enjoy the limb-driven rests from Hamskea. They did a really good job. We did take the containment brackets off of this rest and then put a blade on it. Well, sorry, I'm not going to know all the technical terms here. Is this a blade? What's that?
Yeah, you can call that your blade. It's all it is essentially a different launcher arm. But yeah, I mean, I call it my blade.
Yeah. So, and then I guess traditionally a blade on a target bow is one that doesn't move, correct? You set the angle and then that provides more. Why would someone want to choose a blade versus this rest that I've got here, the limb driven?
Hopefully nobody wants to burn me down over this. So there's a lot of different theories out there that a drop away is going to be more forgiving or a blade's going to be more forgiving. Some people say, well, a drop away's got more moving parts on it. Blade doesn't move and get out of the way. I've shot both. I've shot great scores with both. Like this year, I put a blade rest. I put an AAE Freak Show QD on my Concept. Traditionally, I've built some bows with a drop away, and I've built some bows with a blade. I decided to throw one on that bow this year, and that's what I've been running, and it has been super forgiving. So I've just kind of stuck with it, honestly. The nice part about a drop away is depending on the arrow setup, I can run. I treat a big diameter arrow like a fixed blade broadhead. So, I'll put bigger or more fletchings on the back, and I'll run like a 4 fletch, and I can really kind of fine tune where the launchers are going to drop during all of that to get the best clearance and control out of it. Now, that's kind of the glory of like a blade rest is you're getting control of the entire arrow throughout the entire shot. So there's so many different theories out there and what's best, what's not best. Yeah, you just got to find confidence in something at the end of the day.
So for someone like yourself that's been shooting target archery for years at this point, the idea of having more control over your arrow throughout the entire flight of the arrow makes sense because the torque that you put into it with your hand pressure and everything else into the riser, which in turn would translate into the way that arrow is being controlled coming out of the bow.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas for someone like myself, who may be still not 100% confident in that, a drop away might work a little bit better because it's not touching the arrow the entire time the arrow's coming out off the string.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely could. There's literally, we could sit here and hash this out for quite literally hours about what's going to be the most forgiving, what's the best for this, what's the best for that. Like, I'm a big drop away guy. The fact that I went to a blade rest type rest this year is actually really kind of weird for me. I've been a big Hamsky guy for a long time. I love the product line from them, and I have a pile of confidence in their stuff. And it's 2025, guys. Drop-aways are not what drop-aways were when they first came out. You know, you choose a good reputable brand, you're going to get a phenomenal product, and you're not going to have issues. Like, the whole thing where they're not reliable, that's a bunch of BS nowadays. I don't buy it one bit. So, there you go.
Sweet. I like that. There's always decisions to be made when you're choosing what to put on a bow, from the rest to the stabilizers to the sight to everything in between, and just kind of the idea of why I chose the Hamsky over a blade is just, and for me, the idea of not having that blade touching the arrow the entire time as I'm learning to shoot target archery a little bit better. Gives me a little bit more confidence. But like Mark said, it's really important to be confident in your equipment. Again, whether you're hunting, whether you're in target, you don't want to be second guessing when you're in target situations, up on stage, up on the line, shooting with sometimes thousands of other people, or when you have that big buck walk out in front of you, you don't want to be questioning your equipment. That's basically what it comes down to.
Yeah, like, take Jesse Broadwater. There's a couple years ago when he went back and started shooting for Hoyt again, he set up an Altus, which you'd kind of played with a little bit. He set up an Altus to take hunting, and he ran his freak show blade rest on that bow. That's what he hunted with, out of a tree stand. Like, guys think he's crazy, but that's, well, I mean, there's a reason it has his name on it. He's confident in it, you know? That's, confidence is number one, in my opinion, over anything.
I gotcha.
Arrow.
Go. So my target rig here, we're running right now the Victory VTAX 25s. We've got the AE 40s. Haven't cleaned all the glue off of them yet. from the insert, or I guess the back insert, because we're doing pin knocks on this. That's a boning knock.
Yeah, so you flush these upside down too.
Sweet.
Good job.
There we go, guys.
Here's a great thing. We're gonna hit everybody when it comes to a Victory arrow right now. On the VTAX, it's kind of confusing because they have a spinal line, technically line on both sides, top and bottom of this arrow. You want to be able to read your logo the best way, so you flush yours upside down like most people are. Victory's changing this. They're trying to get this because everybody on social media was fletching a RIP TKO or a VAP TKO with the spinal alignment up, which was technically wrong. The engineers designed that to where the logo was facing up. That's how you wanted to fletch them. That's how they came out of the factory. That's how they were designed. So they're working on fixing these things for people.
Yeah.
But this will be fine for what we're doing right now.
And also with it being a 3 fletch and me, this right now we're getting this set up for punch and paper at 20 yards. So I can do 3 spots, which everyone hates apparently. But it'll help me, and the idea behind it anyway, the theory is I'm going to be able to focus in at 20 yards, very controlled environment, on my hand pressure, the torque that I'm putting into the bow, and that'll translate into hunting situations when you're shooting out of a tree, when you're shooting up at weird angles here on the Wasatch Front, when you've got that big animal out there in front of you, not necessarily thinking about all the technical aspects of shooting a bow at that moment. So with it being a 3 fletch, I can technically turn it however I want as we go in and need to knock tune if we need to, these arrows, and it going to 20 yards. I'm not worried about clearance or anything like that. So we can fix that. We'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll fix that. And we'll probably do some testing. You know, on these VTAC 25s, I shot these a few years ago. I really liked it. It's a super forgiving arrow. But the hybrid 40 is a really good option, especially for just a strict indoor vein. The other thing I really liked on this arrow was the hybrid 26 and a 4-fletch. That was another really good build for me that shot exceptionally well. So it's kind of one of those things we'll monkey around with a couple ideas and ultimately just see what's going to shoot the best for you.
Yeah, which I do have a couple arrows fletched that way as well. A 4-fletch and the hybrid 26s. And then these are the 300 spine. When you move up to the VTAC 27s, I believe they're all one spine.
Yeah, when you get into the 27s, it's one spine. Now, God, that's another rabbit hole we can go down. I mean, I shot for Gold Tip for a couple years, kind of had to deal with our sales rep through them. They're triple X, it's a 150 spine. I cut them super short. I ran a 200 grain point in the front. They shot great. I shot a lot of high 20s, 27, 28 X count, 300 games with them. So this whole thing with, there is a point when we're talking target archery, I believe. I think a lot of people are correct. You can't be too stiff. You can still get a really, really stiff arrow to shoot exceptionally well. I've kind of found some different opinions when it comes to hunting setups and trying to get good broadhead delivery. Now, field tips, they still grouped phenomenal downranges. Broadheads are just a nightmare all around. So we're going to focus strictly on target archery.
Yep.
I don't get too worked up over spine of things. I really don't when it comes to target archery. It's all about testing. I'll put a little more point weight in the front. I'll take a little point weight away. And whether it's, we're going to focus right now on simply, Vegas is this week. So we're going to focus on punching paper, Vegas faces, 20 yards, and some different changes that we can make there and find the most forgiveness. So, we're going to start with the arrow build you have. We're not going to change anything on it. We're going to roll with it. The biggest thing we're going to do is we're going to make adjustments to your bow setup. We're building it. We're going to do just kind of a real rough set of everything here. We're not going to get super technical about any of this. We're going to start you pretty much level, bottom of the shaft through your burger hole, which is a good starting point. Don't burn me down. There's plenty of things that you need to test with this. Paige Pierce talks extensively about all of this, the different things to do to get a bow to aim and repeat good for you. Now, I just did this to mine the other day. The bow is shooting really good as far as like shooting 20 yards, punch of paper. Bow's shooting great. I was shooting a lot of 27 to 28 X count games. But ultimately, I'm not going to Vegas this year, so I ripped all my indoor stuff off, and I'm focusing on shooting 3D. And for me this year, it's all local 3D stuff. I'm not traveling, I'm not shooting any ASAs. So really, if I show up with a bow that's not perfect, man, it kind of is what it is. But I started ripping the bow apart and doing different things and changing stuff. Number one thing for me is when I first got the bow, I played with my D-loop height a little bit, trying to see, if I can get the bow to aim a little bit better. Where I first set it, shot great for 20 yards. I start going out and I start shooting distance. It wasn't my favorite. Especially shooting like a 3D target where there's not a dot. I needed that pin to just stay there a little more versus there was a little too much movement. I want it to hold really good, but I want to be able to pull it away to make sure I'm putting the pin on what I'm actually trying to hit. So I'm kind of in tinker mode a little bit with mine as well. But we're gonna do a little bit of that today with you.
Yeah, for sure.
So
can I just ask, and this is just, I'm sure it's going to come up, people watching it, but you didn't tie in any Nock sets.
Nope. But we're going to leave those out for now because we're going to run this D-loop up and down your center serving.
Perfect.
We're not super worried, and honestly, I don't really care what your paper tune's like right now. We're going to shoot it through paper just to get an idea, especially with target archery, bow hunting, any of it. Paper tuning is a starting point. That's not my end-all, do-all. If it shoots a bullet hole through paper, I don't touch anything. Paper tuning gives me a rough idea of what the bow's doing. If I need to make any big changes to spacers or anything like that with the bow system itself. So,
sweet.
No, we're not going to run Nock sets yet because we're going to go back there. You're going to shoot a few ends and just see how everything holds for you. We're going to start you with your cam timing being dead even. I had heard a couple tricks from like just some people floating around about, you know, once we get our cam timing dead even, taking a twist out of your top, that way your bottom's hitting just a fuzz faster. But that's all just holding what the pin movement's doing downrange on target. So there's a lot of adjustments we can make to make this feel perfect for you.
You're going through right now and checking cam timing.
Mm-hmm. I'm not putting it in a draw board and getting super technical about it yet. Like I said, we're literally roughing this bow in right now. That's all we're going to focus on.
Right.
You got specs on here, so that's good. So we'll get back there. We'll move your let-off foot around to kind of find the holding weight that you like.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll monkey with that, but then we'll also play with your draw length on the spec mod. You got a plus or minus quarter of an inch one way or the other. So we'll kind of play around with that and see where it sits. I moved it a little bit, but we're going to start there. Cool. Nock fit. You don't ever want your nocks too tight. I am always, even on hunting setups, I prefer a looser nock fit than a tighter nock fit. There was actually, I jumped into a little argument at Dudley's thing the other night at dinner, talking about nock fit.
Yep.
A looser nock is generally always more accurate and forgiving than a tighter nock fit.
Essentially, what you just did there was make sure that the nock didn't stay on the center serving when you released it with just that little bit of pressure.
Yeah, like my target setups, half inch or so, I just want to pull it back a little bit and pluck the string.
Mm-hmm.
Pops off. Generally, that's a great starting point. Very rarely, like whether it's factory strings, gas strings, ABB strings, I've never had to go through and redo a center serving because I felt like it was too tight for my stuff. Now, the glory, like gas, when we order a set of strings, they're going to ask us, what nock are you running? Because every nock's, the throat of it's every different. The throat of every nock is a different size, so they'll change your center serving diameter based off of what nock you're running. So we're going to start there. We'll slap bars on. We'll get a peep sight set.
Yep. So these bars, we've got the Vero mount here from Quattro. Did the color match on the bolts there. We've got the Velago bars. We've got a 15 off the back, the 30 off the front. It's kind of the general starting point. Some people run a little bit shorter off the front, but I'd rather have a longer bar, less weight. It's kind of the way I like to handle it.
That's how I am. It's all, I treat my hunting bows the same. It's a levered.
Yep.
So.
And then these are the Hamskea weights. I've done a video on these, but they're the magnetic weights, so you're easily swapping in and out. You don't have to carry an Allen set. Once you've got the base on there, you can just swap weights however you need, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I love them. Okay, we're going to, let me steal that real quick. I just want to look and see where everything's hitting. And then we'll have you shoot it, and we'll set a peep sight.
What do we got?
A little high left, which is what I typically like.
Okay.
There's a starting point, that is. Some bow setups I've had shoot better if I tune them to a bullet hole and then make other adjustments. And I've had some setups that they might start out as a bullet hole and they don't finish there. You know, I'll start, especially like an outdoor setup, I'll go out and I'll stand at 60 yards and I'll start moving my rest around and moving my D-loop around and just, I'm tuning it for hold in groups downrange. So some of them, they shoot better that way. I've made a little adjustments and, you know, we're doing micro adjustments with our rest at that point. And I've had some where it might shoot a bullet hole through paper in here. I go out and make adjustments, come back in, and I'll just shoot it just for curiosity's sake. It'll shoot a bullet hole still. There's such small adjustments that I'm making that I don't see it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I come back and, well, it's not even remotely close to a bullet hole, but they absolutely wad down range. So
Cool.
it's kind of just, it's like anything. It's a starting point.
See if we go here. Yep. All right. And then the other thing too, I'm sure people will notice there's no string stop on here. Some people run them with, some people run them not on their target bows. What's your theory behind that?
I've had some setups where it, for me, like, you know, Gillingham would always give me crap saying, well, I don't even draw the bow back because my draw length's so short. What guys typically will see is, we'll start there. The longer the draw length, sometimes, you know, guys that got really long draw lengths and we take the string stop off, sometimes they feel like, you know, things are a little more forgiving. And so they're trying to get rid of any influence that the string stop or the bow or anything else could be given it.
Because you want the arrow to stay on the string longer is essentially what you're doing.
Kinda. I haven't dove that deep into it, so I don't know exactly, like, hey, when the string hits is the arrow, is that actually causing the arrow to pop off? I don't think so. But I could be completely wrong.
Gotcha.
But it's just it's an influence thing. The biggest reason I took some of mine off was I just felt I liked the feel and feedback I got out of the bow more. There's more vibration. The bow felt like it jumped a tick more. And so when I broke a really good clean shot, I knew it. If I broke a bad shot, I knew it immediately. So it helped me be a little more consistent. It was a feel thing that I liked.
This is something I got to get used to. One, having that longer bar back there, but also feeding it through the riser rather than
come from the side.
Yeah. Down, down, right there. Then we're throwing in a peep. So we're going to do the
tighten that too tight.
The DS, right? The DC.
DC, yeah. Amsky's new Insight kit.
Which that thing's pretty sweet. Being able to, I imagine, especially if you travel a lot as a target archer, being able to have that hard case.
Yeah, it's great. It's a lot nicer than the other one, and the changes they made to the peep itself are super exciting because a lot of times in their standard one, I can't tell you how many clarifiers I've gone through and cracked because it would get stuck. Or
that one's pretty.
I can't even open the case now. There we go. Yeah, so what they changed here.
Well, first, let's go over clarifier, verifier.
Clarifier.
I chose clarifier because I don't have bad eyes, essentially.
Yeah, and so what a clarifier's job is to do is clean up the picture of the target through the lens in the front of your sight. A verifier is going to clear up your pins in like a hunting setup. So I personally don't know a single person that's ever used a verifier in a target setup.
Okay.
Some people like the target being blurry. Some people like it being crystal clear. If I'm shooting a target face, I could really care less if the target's blurry.
Gotcha.
for me, I actually prefer it because I don't see the holes. I like running a pin. I also run a 29 thousandths pin for anything that has a target face, whether it's a Vegas, a Vegas style target, an indoor 3 spot. If I'm shooting an outdoor, like 100 and what are they? Like we shoot an American 900 around here in Utah for one of the Utah Archery Association shoots. We shoot, I think it's a 122 centimeter single spot.
Wow.
I prefer it being blurry because I don't see the holes. I'm not trying. I just need to aim middle. That's all I'm trying to do.
Right.
If I'm shooting 3D, well, I need to see detail and stuff because I'm trying to find holes to aim off of. I'm trying to see the rings to shoot at. So 3D is where I get really critical about seeing stuff, and a clarifier is really beneficial.
I got you.
So that's kind of the differences. And what's nice about this new DC kit is the DC stands for dual cartridge. So we have an actual cartridge that the lens will go into here on the front side of the peep, and the side that's facing you is still going to be for changing out apertures. Before, what we'd do is we would put our clarifier would kind of just sit in the top of the aperture, and we'd finagle the bow around and screw that thing in there. Well, sometimes your clarifier would get stuck in here. So if you need to make a clarifier change, that dang thing's stuck. And so, I've tried cutting the end of a Q-tip off and pushing it out. Most of the time, if they were really stuck, that wasn't rigid enough. So I'm taking a pin and I'm pushing on it, and I've probably shattered a dozen clarifiers at this point.
Wow.
Doing that.
So, and then with this one, you've got a little tool that they provide, this thing right here.
Yep.
I can get it out without popping everything else out. So this little, I showed you guys the kit just now, but it's got a little tool that you can pinch the clarifier. You can also take this end and you're able to screw in the different aperture sizes. So if you end up having an indoor setup and then an outdoor scope, you don't have to change completely your peep. Yep. You're able to just go in and change the aperture size on the fly, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah. So like what we're going to do for you got pretty good eyes. So this is a 4?
Ooh, I think so. 4 or 6, I can't remember.
All right. We're going to start here.
Whatever you told me to order.
That's the other thing is, depending on the power of lens you're running, will change what clarifier you need. So here's what's super neat about this. I can pull out my clarifier with this fancy little tool. I can take my lens cartridge, essentially, pop this in, make sure it's seated. Then, without touching the dadgum thing, we're just going to go ahead and screw this bad chicken in here. We're going to start you with an A.
So it's letters.
Yeah, so specialty will run all their stuff off of numbers, because a clarifier is technically it's magnified. Some people will do it off of numbers. Some people, Hamsky does theirs off of letters.
Now, how do you know which one's which?
They do color them.
Okay. Yeah, you see the color. So
I know their kit.
So, okay, I see it. So if you turn it to the side there a little bit, you can see.
You can kind of see it.
There's B, then there's a yellow one that I can't read. Oh, that one's A, yellow, and then you've got A plus.
Yeah, so what they're doing in these kits is I think they're giving you essentially an A minus, an A, an A plus, a B. And I don't think they're including C's anymore because...
Looks like they have spots for them, though.
Yeah, not a lot of people are running, yeah. So the strongest they're coming with now is a B. I'm running their weakest, which is an A minus. Then you go A, A plus. Part of that's my glasses now.
Yeah. And then
you might, like I said, this might not be right. We might have to change this, but
that's fine. So yeah, we took one off of the top here for the clarifier, and then down here you're able to find your different sizes of aperture that you need. So with this one, I'm trying to remember what size scope that is. It's I think it's a 40, maybe? It's not a 31.
You might be a 35. Okay. Maybe in, idea the scope's a 35, maybe. OD might be a 41.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's the 41, yeah.
Okay.
Because, so it's a dark owl scope, which
he does an awesome job. He actually has an adapter for lights and stuff as well that we'll eventually get into. But the pin's bright enough indoors that I don't need a light for right now. But anyway, he's got a 41 and a 31. So if you like the smaller scope, he's got that option as well.
We'll double check this. Don't shoot it, so this don't turn into a projectile.
So don't fire it.
These big peeps, if you shoot them not tied in, they're going to turn into a projectile, and we don't want to do that. Actually, hand me your release real quick. I just want to make sure I got the angle correct before we get too crazy. Just see. Actually, I'm going to pop in a Aperture too, because that's gigantic. Maybe.
Yeah, that one's hard to, I don't know what happened to that one. The other case was easy to open.
Let's see. You're probably going to be... This might be a little big indoors for you. We'll start with an 8.
Okay. Again, this is all new to me. I dabbled with the Altus for a little bit. Shot a couple Vegas rounds just for fun, but this will be, I'm excited.
We're going to dive in.
I may not be saying that later because I've seen some of how you guys go after a couple rounds in Vegas, but
Sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's frustrating. It's the most frustrating game. It's like golf.
Yeah.
At least from what I'm told.
This is better than golf, though. For all you guys out there that like golf, I'm sorry, but archery and long range shooting are definitely better.
For most of you, you should probably do this in a draw board. Or at least load an arrow if you're going to do it like I'm doing it. Yeah, that's straighter. All right, come look at this for me.
Okay. Scope.
Okay. Start there. We'll make adjustments as we need.
The whole, just kind of going back to the bow build setup, the reason, when you're picking the aperture size, generally you want the aperture to line up with the scope housing.
Yeah, for the most part, you want it to be... I try to get a pretty tight aperture around my scope for whatever I'm doing. Now,
right now, what Mark's doing is putting a little, what are you doing, half twist?
no, we did a full twist on that one.
Okay,
We're
good.
just going to get your peep pulling straight.
Yeah, the peep was a little bit angled. You guys probably saw that, where he had to adjust it when I got to full draw. But, so yeah, just depending on, again, the light, which it's super important. And if you come into Wild Arrow to get your bow tuned or your bow set up, which hopefully if you're local, it's the best shop, 100%. There's people that fly in from around the country to come and get their bows set up here. If you're coming in for tack, schedule some time. Don't don't expect to come in if you're coming in for tack and just have some time, because they're probably slammed and not going to be able to make it happen. But if you call ahead and get some time scheduled, they'd love to set you up and get you right. But going back to just making sure you're setting it up with the lighting that you're going to be using, whether it be hunting or indoor archery, you want to make sure that you've got the same lighting as what you're going to be shooting in, because that can change your aperture size depending on what you need.
And that's what's cool about these peep sights that have adjustable apertures is, you know, a lot of the times on my hunting setups, I know what I'm going to be hunting in, so I'll set, you know, my aperture size. I've been doing it long enough. I know, depending on the bow, I know what aperture I need to have. But for a lot of guys, if you're running one bow for everything, you know, if you're going to punch paper, if you're going to shoot 3D, or you're just hunting, like, it's these peep sights that have adjustable aperture sizes are actually super slick. And so you can get it without the clarifiers and all the lenses.
Yep. That's the standard kit. So you've got the standard and the deluxe kit for both the FS and the DC. Or is it FC or FS? I think it's FS and DC.
FS, which is going to be Hamsky's peep kit for, same thing, it'll still have dual cartridge system, but you can run verifiers in their bigger apertures.
Mm-hmm.
The DC is going to come with, you know, smaller aperture sizes. So we just put one in a customer's bow the other day. He runs a smaller housing. He's a little bit longer draw length. He's running a lot smaller apertures than most people. Well, we put him into the DC kit.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, you can get the standard or the deluxe. The deluxe has the verifier or clarifier depending on which kit you get, and then the standard has it without the lenses in there. So they have both options depending on what you're needing.
Okay. The other thing we're going to check real quick is I'm going to just kind of look at your rest and see when this arrow's dropping, or when your launcher is dropping. So typically I try to get my launcher to drop in about, you know, by time on the shot, I want it to start dropping in the front third of the arrow. So we're going to be, that's dropping a little later than I would start with. So to make things easy, we're just going to tighten your rest cord a little bit. That'll typically get it to drop where I want it.
On the Epsilon, with the Epsilon V2, they've made it easier to change the angle of the drop of the blade, correct? So that's not necessarily what we're doing here. We're adjusting timing.
And if we can't get it where I want it, what we'll do is we'll start running your cord up and down your limb closer or further away from your axle to get it where we need it. We're going to start there. Okay.
Sweet.
This thing's ready to start shooting.
Awesome.
We'll start making adjustments to it.
Well, we'll leave that there for now, just for the kind of the bow build. I know I had most of the stuff slapped on it already before we got here today, but again, that's the Hoyt Concept 37 or Concept X 37. Now, I guess a little bit on that. Why the 37 over? I know they make a 34. They've got a 40.
Yep.
Why did you recommend the 37, and why are most people shooting the 37 this year?
A lot of it, so like, I've played around with 40s. I got a really short draw length, but I've always tried it. It's, you know, typically a longer axle bow is going to have what we just call a slower pin movement, a bigger string angle, so it's going to be a little steadier. Now, you know, we've kind of talked about this a little bit, and Hoyt's been really kind of chasing this a little bit and really talking about it, is effective string angle. This bow, for most people, and I could pull up the white sheet and tell you, perfect numbers, but essentially this 37 in most draw lengths is only a couple degrees off of what like a Stratos 40 would be. So we're getting the same effective string angles what we were. Now, you can change pin movement by length and weight of your bars that you're going to put on there if you want a slower movement or a faster pin movement. What I've always noticed out of my 40s is, they're a slower pin movement on target, but the slower kind of freaks me out because it takes longer to come back in, slower to come out. I like the faster movement. If it comes out, I want it to come back in as quick as it can, and it don't matter if I'm shooting a controlled shot, if I'm punching and command shooting, like I prefer, my brain likes a faster pin movement, no matter what kind of shot execution I'm running at that given time. But
I love it. That's awesome. And then the 37, that's a newer one this year as far as ATA goes.
Yeah, so it's really similar. Invicta's, they had a 40 and a 37. Then they went to Stratos. If essentially what they were able to do, they weren't able to squeeze it into a 37. They had to shrink everything because they were trying to make the SVX and the new HPT cam work together. And so it ended up, to get everything kind of come together how they wanted, they had to go to a 36 axle, which I didn't hate. A lot of guys shot that bow exceptionally well, but now that we just have one cam system nowadays, we can squish everything back up into a 37-inch bow instead of shrinking it all. So I'm a big 37 person.
Sweet. Awesome. Well, appreciate you guys tuning in. Again, we'll continue down this target path as we go down through the rest of the off season, essentially. I'm not shooting at any big events. I want to be prepared so that next year I can shoot at some big events and hopefully even compete at a high level. But I'm really excited about this build. It looks gorgeous. And honestly, guys, I don't trust anyone else with my bows. If you're local here, I highly recommend coming down to Wild Arrow, whether it be your target setup that you're getting going or you want to order a bow. There's so many amazing bows out there right now. Get a hunting bow set up. Now is the time to come in and get that set up. You don't want to wait till June, July, etc., because then you're going to be crammed and you may not even get your bow in time based on the manufacturer and how far they are behind, as far as orders go. So come in, get your stuff set up, and even if you have a setup, you're not looking to buy a new bow, have them come look at your bow. You can drop it off, have them look at it, or they can do a little once over in the lobby, see if you are in need of new strings or something along those lines. Highly recommend it. They're not going to sell you something you don't need or want. They just want to make sure that you're out there and shooting your bow. So again, Mark, I appreciate it, all the work they do. And guys, go check out Wild Arrow. Come into the shop or go to their website. They've got awesome hats. Like this hat's freaking sick.
Yeah, we just got these, so they're not on there yet.
So my 10-year-old actually, he has one of these hats, and all the kids in school are asking about it. So if it's cool for 10-year-olds, I mean, it's pretty sweet.
It's pretty sweet.
But yeah, guys, come check them out. Have a fantastic day, and of course, get out, live your life, and love it.
You just saw the Concept X 37 build with Mark. That thing has been awesome. I've already done my first round of Vegas with that, and I will do another video on that because I had some bobbles and some, we'll see what my score was my first time around. And also, I want to let you guys know that we are currently doing a giveaway all the way through the end of March. So we have 2 giveaways running right now. The first one is the 65mm spotting scope from Leupold. If you want to get entered in on that, make sure you see the link down below to get in on that giveaway. No purchase necessary to get in on that one. That's just going to go until we hit 6,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel, and then I'm going to give that away on YouTube. The other one is BlackOvis. We're giving away 6 gift cards through the end of March. So all you have to do for that is go to BlackOvis, use code RedBeard, save some money, get the gear that you were already going to get. And again, you want to get the gear now so that you can break it in and be confident with it when you head into the field this fall. So go and do that all the way through the end of March. And then at the end of March, we will be doing the giveaway drawing live here on YouTube. So stay tuned for that. Stoked to give back to you guys. I appreciate the support. Now, have a great day. And as always, get out, live your life, and love it.